بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. اللهم أرنا الحق حقا وارزقنا اتباعه وأرنا الباطل باطلا وارزقنا اجتنابه. علمنا ما ينفعنا وانفعنا بما علمتنا وزدنا علما. أخرجنا من ظلمات الوهم وأكرمنا بالنور الفهم وأنم علينا يا عظيم. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي. أما بعد. All praise be to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and peace be upon His beloved Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. I testify that there is no God except Allah Almighty, and I testify that Muhammad is the Prophet and the Messenger of Allah. My brothers and sisters in Islam, after being asked so many times about this subject and the ruling of this matter, I decided to speak about it and speak about what the scholars had said about these topics, which is a controversial topic amongst the scholars, and that is reading anything from the Quran al-Kareem permissible on the dead. Is reading anything from the Quran al-Kareem permissible on the dead? Now this is a controversial topic amongst the scholars, and it's been discussed and it's been spoken about, and it's been through from the Salaf all the way to our time, where the scholars discuss this matter. Is it permissible or not? Now, just before we go into this topic, let us clarify one thing. Okay? This is a fiqh issue. What's a fiqh issue? It's a jurisprudence matter. It's not a aqeedah issue. So whether someone believes so or does not believe so, it's a fiqh matter. Okay? It's a fiqh matter that regardless what opinion someone might take, this should not make anyone look different at the other. Regardless what opinion someone might take, this should not make anyone look different at anyone else. This is a fiqh issue. The scholars have disagreed, and have disagreed over bigger matters than this matter. And the disagreement is there. Each one and each side have their dalil. And it's a matter that the scholars have spoken about, and they're going to continue to speak about. But if someone believes that it's permissible to read the Quran al-Kareem on the dead, does that take him out of Islam? Nowhere near it. And if someone believes that you should not read the Quran al-Kareem on the dead, does that take him out of Islam? Nowhere near it. Does it make him a mubtadi'ah if he does? No. Does it make him as a mubtadi'ah if he doesn't? No. It's a fiqh issue. Some scholars believe it's permissible. Other scholars believe it's not permissible. But that at the end of the day, regardless what conclusion, what outcome, whether someone takes yes, someone takes no, this should not divide the Muslims. And it's a small-minded type of people who will divide Muslims over this issue. And there is a big debate over this issue, and those scholars debated those matters. Even within one madhab, you'll find the scholars had debated this issue in their madhab. But at the end of the day, this does not make anyone point the fingers at others, saying that we are the people of the haqq, and we are the people of Ahl Sunnah, and you are the people of Ahl Bid'ah, and so on, and so on, and so on. Wal-'iyadhu billah. This is ignorance. So this is the topic that I wanted to speak about, and this is the topic that I wanted to discuss tonight. And I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to open our hearts and minds. And once again, I do emphasize on the matter that whatever opinion you might feel comfortable towards, well, that's the opinion you feel comfortable towards. The opposite opinion does not make him anything lower than you. The opposite opinion does not make him from the people of the bid'ah, or the people of the batil, or the people of this, or the people of that. At the end of the day, each side and each party have their opinion, and I think it's important for us to discuss this on a knowledgeable base. Okay? Not wallahi being strict on one part or another. these are controversial topics in fiqh, not in aqeedah. When it comes to aqeedah, there's no compromise. When it comes to our aqeedah, when it comes to our creed, there's no compromise. Our aqeedah is one and there's no disagreement over those aqeedah or over aqeedah issues. But when it comes to fiqh issues, the disagreement existed from the time of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam, and it existed from the time of the Sahaba radiallahu ta'ala anhum, and will continue to exist to the day of judgment. At the end of the day, these are fiqh matters, regardless what the disagreement is. It does not take anyone out of the boundaries of Islam, or does not take anyone out of the boundaries of being Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah. Now, you have two parties over this topic. Is reciting the Quran Kareem over the dead permissible or not? We're not talking about reciting Yasin or reciting the Fatiha, because reciting Yasin is from the Quran, reciting the Fatiha is from the Quran. Reciting Yasin is from the Quran, reciting the Fatiha is from the Quran. So what we're going to talk about is reciting the Quran Kareem over the dead. Because when you talk about reciting the Quran Kareem over the dead, the first thing that comes to the mind of people is Surah Yasin and Surah Al-Fatiha. Well, Surah Yasin or Surah Al-Fatiha are both from the Quran Kareem. So the topic that the scholars, when they discuss this matter over the banner of, is reciting the Quran Kareem permissible for the dead or not? And again, I do emphasize, this is a fiqh issue. So regardless what opinion you might take, at the end of the day, this does not make the opposite opinion outside Islam, or a mubtadi'ah, or out of Ahl Sunnah, or whatever banners that some people might call for. And there is, this is one fiqh issue that the scholars disagree. There's a lot of hundreds and thousands of fiqh issues you find the scholars disagree over too. Not only within madhab to another madhab, within one madhab you'll find disagreement. Within the same madhab of Imam al-Shafi'i, you find disagreement over fiqh issue. Within the same madhab with Imam Abu Hanifa, you find disagreement over fiqh issues. Within the same madhab of Imam Ahmad bin Hanbal, within the same madhab of Imam Malik, you find disagreement over issues. And this is one of the issues. Within the Shafi'is themselves, they disagree. Within the madhab of the Shafi'i, some disagree over it, yes, and others no. But none of them say, you are mubtada', you are from this Ahl Sunnah, you are following the Quran and Sunnah, you are following Ahl Bid'ah. None of them ever reach to that state. It's a controversial issue. It's a fiqh matter. Some have their opinion, others have the difference of opinion. Now the topic is reciting the Quran Kareem over the dead permissible or not? And this is a topic that the Salaf had spoken about and discussed till this day. And each one of them has their proof, and each one of them have their dalil. Now, my brothers and sisters, there's a lot of issues in the Sharia. We have two types of dalil, qat'i and dhanni. Qat'i means clear cut. Dhanni means unclear. Okay? Qat'i means clear, dhanni means unclear. Not all issues in the deen are clear. Not all issues in the Sharia are clear. Sometimes you might come up to someone, up to a sheikh, and say to him, Sheikh, is this halal or haram? He'll tell you haram. You say to him, give me a dalil. He'll recite a verse or read a hadith that to you from the outside, what's that got to do with this? It's not clear. There's a lot of matters in the Sharia. There's a lot of matters in the Sharia, they're not clear. It doesn't say, bang, this is haram. This is halal. This is makruh. This is mubah. Like, I'll give you an example. Alright, the issue of the alcohol. The issue of alcohol. Okay, you know how a lot of people always ask the question, can I use a perfume with alcohol in it? Sheikh, what's your opinion? Well, I go with what's safe. It's not permissible. Why? Because alcohol is najas. Therefore, if it's najas, it means it's haram for you to wipe najasa over you. You look at other opinion of other scholars, they say no. Alcohol is not najas, it's haram for you to drink, it's haram for you to taste, but it's not najas, and if it's not najas, you could use it. Alright, what's the dalil of those who say it's najas? They say it's najas because it's haram. Alright, you want a clear-cut dalil, give me a clear-cut dalil from the Quran and Sunnah. What clear-cut dalil are you after? You after some verse or some hadith that says that alcohol is najas. We'll go through the whole Quran, go through the whole hadith, you're not going to find something like that. You're going to find something that's unclear in a way that hints indirect. So not all matters in the Sharia are direct. The only things that are direct, it's the Aqidah. The Aqidah is direct, that's it. Okay, when it comes to fiqh matters, there are things which are direct and that are clear, and there are things that are unclear. And one of those is قراءة القرآن على الميت, reciting the Quran Kareem over the mayyit, over the dead. Okay, is there a clear-cut hadith that says it's permissible? No. Okay, there's no clear-cut authentic hadith that says it is permissible to read the Quran Kareem on the dead. Okay, let's go to the other side. Is there a clear-cut hadith that says you're not allowed to read the Quran Kareem on the dead? Also no. There is nothing that says in the Sharia from the Quran and Sunnah that says it is not permissible for you to read the Quran Kareem over the dead. So where do we go now? Each party that says, those who say yes, they have a hadith, they have verses that hint in an indirect way from their understanding that it's permissible. And those who say no, they have a hadith, they have verses that hints in an indirect way that it's not permissible. And this is what we need to discuss tonight. Now, is it permissible to read the Quran Kareem over the dead? Now we've understood these two parties. One says yes, the other one says no. Okay, who says yes, who says no? I'll tell you one thing, majority of scholars say yes. Majority of scholars say it is permissible for you to read the Quran Kareem over the dead. Who's from the scholars? Including Abu Hanifa, including Imam Malik, and a narration on Imam Shafi'i, and including Imam Ahmad bin Hanbal, Imam al-Nawawi, and other many scholars. And also you'll be surprised, including Ibn Taymiyyah, and including Ibn al-Qayyim al-Jawzi, which they made it very clear it is permissible to read the Quran Kareem over the dead. And I mentioned some of those things that they mentioned. Alright, now the other side, who says no, okay, they are strict on the issue of saying there is no clear dalil that says it's permissible. Fair enough. That's your dalil. Fair, and it's a fair argument that there is nothing clear. But the one that says yes, then they have unclear dalils, and some are da'if dalils that they use for the permissibility of reading the Quran Kareem over the dead. From amongst those is the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, اقرأوا ياسين على موتاكم. The Prophet ﷺ said, recite Yasin over your dead. This hadith been narrated by Abu Dawood, and according to Abu Dawood is Hasan, and An-Nasa'i, and Ibn Majah, and Ahmad, wal Hakim, wa Sahahahu Ibn Hibban, and Imam al-Nawawi. He said this hadith, to Imam al-Nawawi consider it da'if. And then he said, وَاتَّفَقَ الْعُلَمَاء عَلَى جَوَازِ الْعَمَلِ بِالْحَدِيثِ الضَّعِيفِ فِي فِضَائِلِ الْعَمَلِ. He said the scholars had agreed upon that it is permissible to use the hadith al-da'if when it comes to virtues of actions. Okay, there is hadith da'if, which means there is a small percentage that this hadith can be from the Prophet ﷺ. And this hadith al-mawdu', which is fabricated hadith, absolutely Allah, and there is no percentage or chance of this hadith being from the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ. So now this is one hadith which is one of the most famous and common ahadith in this chapter. اقرأوا ياسين على موتاكم. Read Yasin, which is the surah of Yasin on your dead. Now those scholars, okay, yani this hadith, to a lot of scholars it's Hasan. That means it's very close to Sahih. Okay, and it says read Yasin over your dead. Now those scholars who reject the concept of reading the Quran over the dead, they accepted this hadith, but they said that you recite Yasin over the dead while they are dying, not after their death. So this is an argument, alright? Where the other side that takes, it says, no, the hadith is very clear. It says, recite Yasin over your dead, which means you're dead, which means those who are already dead. That means you recite Yasin. When I say recite Yasin, it means recite Yasin as an individual, not as a gathering. Alright, so let's not mix. Because when you say recite Yasin, straight away, some of the customs come into your mind, that big gathering of after 3 days, everyone just gets together and reads Yasin. That's not what I'm talking about. Here, it refers to reciting Yasin as a verse on a person, an individual. I open Surah Yasin and I start reciting Yasin, and I hope that this rewards of what I've recited goes to the dead. And this is what the concept of reading the Quran Kareem for the dead. Maybe I should have clarified that at the beginning. What's reading the Quran Kareem for the dead? That I read, okay, I have a family member that's passed away, or anyone, even if it's not even my relation. Okay, some guy from the north passed away, I know him and I know his name, so I read the Quran Kareem. The rewards that I get from reciting those verses of the Quran Kareem, I have the intention that, Ya Allah, these rewards that I just got from reciting this verse or this surah, I wanted to get to this dead person. Alright? So this is the meaning of reciting the Quran Kareem over the dead. It's not you reciting the Quran Kareem over the dead, expecting the dead to come back alive, or the dead down here is going to obtain mercies and forgiveness, okay, from just from you. Okay, of course, they obtain mercy and forgiveness from Allah Azza wa Jal. The meaning of reciting the Quran Kareem over the dead, it means that I read the Quran Kareem, and the rewards that I get from reading this Quran or this chapter or this verse, I give that as a gift to this dead person. This is what the argument is. Now, also there's a weak hadith that that some scholars accept and some scholars reject. This hadith been narrated in the Tabarani, and he says, إذا مات أحدكم فلا تحبسوه وأسرعوا به إلى قبره وليقرأ عند رأسه بفاتحة الكتاب وعند رجليه بخاتمة البقرة في قبره. Okay, this hadith, which is a very weak hadith, and some scholars even did not accept it, although Tabarani himself made this hadith as al-Hasan. Okay, he said if someone passes away, do not lock him up or block him and rush him into the grave, and let you read Surah Al-Fatiha over their head and read from the end of the surah, or from the verses of the Surah Al-Baqarah at the bottom of his feet in his grave. Now this hadith, majority of scholars rejected the hadith, not like the previous hadith. Okay, the previous hadith that we mentioned, اقرأوا ياسين على موتاكم, recite Yasin over your dead. This hadith, to majority of the scholars, they accepted the hadith. Some made it da'if, and others had made this hadith to be hasan, and therefore they used the hadith as a reason to accept the fact that yes, you can read the Quran Kareem over the dead. Now, here it's also been narrated, that's been mentioned in the book of Imam al-Nawawi, that Abdullah ibn Umar radiallahu ta'ala anhu used to read, okay, Surah Al-Baqarah and the last verses of Surah Al-Baqarah on the graves, okay, of the graves of the Sahaba and the graves of different Muslims. This is a narration that's been narrated by Imam al-Nawawi. Now these narrations came. Now the argument is, some scholars accept those narrations as to be authentic, other scholars see it as weak. Okay? At the end of the day, the authenticity of the hadith is based on the narrators. And the narrators in some eyes of some scholars are just, and some narrators of some hadith in the eyes of other scholars are unjust. And this is where you find the argument, that this hadith you find it acceptable within a group of scholars, and you find it rejected within a group of scholars. But the main hadith that the scholars use is the first hadith I mentioned to you, is what the Prophet ﷺ said, اقرأوا ياسين على موتاكم, recite Yasin over your dead. Now, most of the scholars accept the hadith, but they divide it over two. Some say, no, here you recite Yasin over the dead while they are dying, not after their death. Others say, no, you recite Yasin while they are dying and after their death, which the hadith makes it very clear. Now, what do the scholars say over this? What do the scholars say over that? Okay, I'm going to mention a few of what the scholars say over this. You've got the Hanabila and some of the students of Imam Hanbal. He says that سمعت أحمد بن حنبل يقول إذا دخلتم المقابر فاقرأوا آية الكرسي وقل هو الله أحد 3 مرات. Okay, Ahmad bin Hanbal said if you enter the graves, read and recite Ayat al-Kursi and قل هو الله أحد 3 times. ثم قولوا اللهم اجعل فضله لأهل المقابر. And then he said, oh Allah, make the virtues and the rewards of those verses go to the people of the dead. Alright? So this is the whole concept of reciting the Quran Kareem over the dead. The whole issue is that whatever you recite, the rewards that you get, you pass it on to the dead. Now, the Hanafis are one of those the Hanafis are also one of the scholars, the Ahnaf are also one of those who are in support of the reciting of the Quran Kareem, and any other good action could go to the dead. Alright, now also the Malikis are also one of those who also see that any good action, the rewards of that good action could go to the dead. It's agreed upon from the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ okay, it's agreed upon from the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ that the sadaqah jariyah, the rewards of a sadaqah jariyah will go to the dead. And the Prophet ﷺ, he said, يَنْقَطِعُ عَمَلِ ابْنِ آدَمْ إِلَّا مِنْ ثَلَاثٍ, that the deeds and the actions of the son of Adam are cut off except from three matters. One of them is, okay, one of those three matters is sadaqah jariyah, which is a continuous sadaqah. Someone does a deed, donates money for something that's continuous, and the dead, that's donated on their behalf, and the dead will continue getting that reward for a sadaqah jariyah. And also the hajj. Okay, it's very clear that when, in few incidents, a man and a woman came to the Prophet ﷺ and asked him, my father, my mother passed away and they did not perform hajj, should I perform hajj on their behalf? So the Prophet ﷺ said, okay, go ahead and perform hajj on their behalf. If your father or mother had a debt, wouldn't you pay that debt off? So now, okay, this is an action that's being performed by a live person, and the rewards of the action that's being performed by someone who's alive will go to the dead. On this, that's where the scholars who agree with the concept of reading the Quran al-Karim and the rewards that you obtain from reading the Quran al-Karim will go to the dead, they said, since Hajj will go to the dead and donating money on the behalf of the dead will go to the dead. And there's also other narrations that speak about fasting and fasting. Someone passed away and their father or mother left behind fasting, and they asked the Prophet ﷺ, should I fast on their behalf? And the Prophet ﷺ said, yes, fast on their behalf. So here also the scholars use that hadith as also an argument that the Prophet ﷺ permitted fasting, permitted sadaqah jariyah, permitted hajj to be performed on someone who is dead. If that's the case, these are ibadat, and reciting the Quran al-Karim is also an ibadah. And if the rewards of fasting and the rewards of hajj and the rewards of sadaqah jariyah will go to the dead if it's performed by the life, also the same thing, the Quran al-Karim is a worship, and the rewards of reciting the Quran al-Karim will also go to the dead. Okay, this is the argument of those who take the opinion that reciting the Quran al-Karim is permissible for the dead. Now those who disagree with the argument that reciting the Quran al-Karim will go to the dead, they stick to what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He says, وَلَا تَزِرُ وَازِرَةٌ وِزْرَ أُخْرَى. No one will be judged, or no one will obtain no one will be judged over matters they did not do. And no one will take what they did not do. In other words, that Allah will only judge you over what you've done. What you've done in your life is what you're going to get. Alright? What you've done in your life is what you're going to get. What you didn't do in your life, you're not going to get. Even though someone else does something on your behalf, you're not going to get it because you did not do it. And this is their understanding from وَلَا تَزِرُ وَازِرَةٌ وِزْرَ أُخْرَى. Also, the Prophet ﷺ, he said that the actions of the son of Adam are cut off from three things. And the Prophet ﷺ mentioned those three things. Is sadaqah jariyah, a continuous sadaqah, a righteous son or descendant that will continue to make dua for them. And the third one is a knowledge that this dead had left behind, that people benefit from this knowledge. Now those scholars who disagree with the fact that reciting the Quran al-Karim will go to the dead say, well, the Prophet ﷺ said, يَنْقَطَعُ عَمَلِ ابْنِ آدَمْ إِلَّا مِنْ ثَلَاثٍ, that the only three things that will continue the rewards of the son of Adam are three things. And the Prophet ﷺ said three things. But the other scholars say, well, here the Prophet ﷺ said three things, but it does not mean it's limited to three things. Okay, it could be more than that. And the dalil is the verse, the fact that the Prophet ﷺ allowed some people to perform hajj on their behalf. So there is the argument there. There is an argument there from both sides. One who believes that no, reciting the Quran al-Karim to the dead is not permissible because it's pointless, because the rewards are not going to go to the dead. Alright? And the others say, yes, it is permissible and the rewards will go to the dead. Okay? And here Imam al-Suyuti, he's one of the big scholars who came in the late years. He says, اختلف العلماء في وصول ثواب القرآن للميت فجمهور السلف والأئمة الثلاثة على الوصول وخلاف ذلك خالف ذلك إمامنا الشافعي رضي الله تعالى عنه. Imam al-Suyuti, he says that the scholars had disagreed over the fact of the rewards of the reciting the Quran al-Karim to the dead will go to the dead or not. And he said, Jumhur al-Salaf, the majority of the Salaf, and the three Imams, including Imam Ahmad bin Hanbal, Imam Malik and Imam Abu Hanifa, had agreed that the rewards of reciting the Quran al-Karim will go to the dead, except to Imam al-Shafi'i. Imam al-Shafi'i is one of those Imams who in which been narrated on his behalf, he disagrees with the fact that reciting the Quran al-Kareem and the rewards of you reciting the Quran al-Kareem will go to the dead. Now Imam al-Shafi'i is one of the great scholars, okay? And Imam al-Shafi'i, by the way, is not a Wahhabi. Okay, because some people straight away point out, if you don't believe that reciting the Quran al-Kareem to the dead, you're a Wahhabi. Well, Imam al-Shafi'i is not a Wahhabi, okay? And he's one of the scholars that he says that the rewards of reciting the Quran al-Kareem will not go to the dead. Although Imam Abu Hanifa and Imam Malik and Imam Ahmad bin Hanbal and Jumhur al-Salaf, as Imam al-Suyuti and majority of scholars say, yes, reciting the Quran al-Kareem is permissible for the dead and will go to the rewards will go to the dead. So it's a controversial topic, and it's a controversial topic from the time of the Salaf. And here you're talking about the great Imams from Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah, and they had these differences amongst each other, and none of them had pointed the fingers at each other, whether those who said it's acceptable, you're a mubtada', or those who said it's not acceptable, you're a mubtada'. It's a fiqh issue. It's a fiqh matter. Each party have their dalil. Each party have their dalil of understanding from the Quran and Sunnah. And each party have the dalil to back up their argument whether it is acceptable or not. At the end of the day, this is an issue that's been there, and we should respect each other's opinions. Now we are talking about reciting the Quran al-Kareem. We're not talking about the congregation that people make and let's get together and read Quran al-Kareem together and that. This is a different issue now. Okay, this is a different issue. This is something that I myself don't even feel comfortable towards, because the scholars did not speak about that. They spoke about reading the Quran al-Kareem individually and sending the rewards of that to the dead. But getting together and making a party over it, this is where it becomes more into the topic of saying, hold on a sec, now it becomes a bit more cautious to speak about. Now, as I mentioned, Imam al-Nawawi also mentions that the majority of the scholars say that it is permissible for the recitation of the Quran al-Kareem over the dead, and the rewards of the recitation of the Quran al-Kareem will go to the dead. Ibn Taymiyyah is also from amongst the scholars who also said that the recitation of the Quran al-Kareem will benefit, and this is the statement from Ibn Taymiyyah, who says, إِنَّ الْمَيِّتَ يَنْتَفِعُ بِقِرَاءَةِ الْقُرْآنِ كَمَا يَنْتَفِعُ بِالْعَبَادَاتِ الْمَالِيَّةِ مِنَ الصَّدَقَةِ وَغَيْرِهَا. Ibn Taymiyyah says that the dead will benefit from the recitation of the Quran al-Kareem the way that he will benefit from other worships, such as the donation of money. And Ibn al-Qayyim, who is the student of Ibn Taymiyyah, he says, أفضل ما يهدى إلى الميت الصدقة والاستغفار والدعاء له والحز عنه، أما قراءة القرآن وإهداؤها إليه تطوعا من غير أجل فهذا يصل إليه كما يصل إليه ثواب الصوم والحج. وقال في موضع آخر في كتابه والأولى أن ينوى عند الفعل أنها للميت ولا يشترط التلفظ بذلك. Ibn Qayyim radiallahu ta'ala anhu rahimahullah, we ask Allah Azza wa Jalla to be pleased from him and to have mercy on him. He said that the best of gifts to grant the dead is the sadaqah and the istighfar, asking Allah to forgive him and to make dua for him and to perform hajj on their behalf. And then he says, and reciting the Quran, because all of the ones before, sadaqah, istighfar, dua and hajj, it's agreed upon. None of the scholars disagree over that. But reciting the Quran al-Kareem, that's where there's a disagreement, and that's why he said, and about reciting the Quran al-Kareem to the dead, and sending the rewards of that reciting of the Quran al-Kareem to the dead, without earning money on it. So you don't pay someone, look, brother, here's $100, read the Quran al-Kareem for my mother, and send the rewards of the recitation of the Quran al-Kareem to my mother. So he is talking about the recitation of the Quran al-Kareem to the dead without earning money on it. فَهَذَا يَصْلُ إِلَيْهِ. He said this will reach to the dead كَمَا يَصْلُ إِلَيْهِ ثَوَابِ الصَّوْمِ وَالْحَجِّ, the way that if someone will fast and perform hajj on their behalf. And he says in another book, he said, and it is more preferably that when someone wants to send the rewards of the recitation of the Quran al-Kareem of this chapter to the dead, it is recommended that you have the intention before you recite the Quran al-Kareem, that, Ya Allah, I intend from what I'm going to read from the Quran al-Kareem, the rewards of that to get to the dead. And this is what Ibn al-Qayyim rahimahullah ta'ala, he says. So you realize that the majority of scholars say from the Ahnaf, from the Malikiyya, from the Hanabila, and including Ibn Qayyim, and Imam al-Nawawi, Imam al-Suyuti, Imam bin Hajar al-Asqalani, from the great scholars, you're talking about the greatest of scholars in history, spoke about that. One of the only scholars who objected on that is Imam al-Shafi'i. Okay? And Imam al-Shafi'i, like the Shafi'iyya explained, Imam al-Shafi'i did not object on the recitation of the Quran al-Kareem over the dead. He said it is permissible to recite the Quran al-Kareem over the dead, but he said the rewards would not reach the dead. Okay, so he had it in two ways: reciting the Quran al-Kareem over the dead, and the rewards of reciting the Quran al-Kareem to the dead. So to him, reciting the Quran al-Kareem is permissible, but to the dead, but the rewards would not reach. Now, once I asked one of my mashayikh when we were studying this topic, and I said, "What do you say?" He said, "Look, you recite the Quran al-Kareem. If the rewards go to the dead, alhamdulillah. If they're not going to go to the dead, they're going to come back to you." Now, as we mentioned, this is the argument of the scholars who say it is permissible. Those who say it's not permissible, they still stand on the edge of saying, or they still stand saying that there is no clear-cut dalil that the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam did it. There is no clear-cut dalil that the Sahaba radiallahu ta'ala anhum did it. Therefore, we're not going to take from it. Okay, fair enough. It's a good argument and it's an acceptable argument. And that's why I do say, Ikhwani, you go with this argument, go with it. You go with the other argument, go with it. But there's one thing you should do, and keep in mind, this is a disagreement that existed amongst the biggest scholars. If you think that you should read the Quran al-Kareem over the dead and the rewards will go to the dead, then that's something you believe in. Then look at the one that does not read the Quran al-Kareem over the dead. Look at him as a mubtada' or a dal or whatever you want to point the fingers at them. And exactly the opposite. If you believe that you're not comfortable reading the Quran al-Kareem over the dead because there's no clear-cut hadith or no clear-cut dalil from the Quran or Sunnah that the Prophet ﷺ recited the Quran al-Kareem over the dead, fair enough. But don't point at the one that reads the Quran al-Kareem over the dead and say, wallah, he's a mubtada' or he is a dal or he is not from the people of the Quran and Sunnah and he's not from Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah. If that's the case, you are accusing over 90% of the Muslim Ummah with the greatest of scholars. I mentioned quotes from them that are mubtadi'een. Ikhwani, this is an issue, a fiqh issue. The scholars spoken about it. The scholars had discussed this matter. Each one of them have their dalil. Each one of them look at it in a different way, in a different angle. At the end of the day, we have to accept the argument and we have to respect what the scholars had spoken in these matters. And what the scholars had to say in those matters, how they looked into those matters, and not to look down at each other. This is the main thing I wanted to come out of that. I did not want to come out of tonight's lesson saying, look, you should believe that reciting the Quran al-Kareem over the dead is permissible and the rewards will go to the dead. Or I wanted to come out saying, no, you should not believe in that and this is bid'ah. No, I wanted to come out saying that we should respect the opinion of other scholars, other opinions of other scholars, and no, this is a controversial issue among the scholars. Each one of them have their dalil and each one of them look at it in one way for the sake of Allah, and each one of them goes back to the Quran and Sunnah, and this is a ikhtilaf that the scholars had, and the majority of scholars went that way. Although I'm the type that always goes with the majority, and I do believe that reciting the Quran al-Kareem over the dead is permissible, and the rewards, inshaAllah, will reach to the dead, and if it didn't, will come back to us. And I also respect the other opinion of the other side that says that you should not, or the reciting the Quran al-Kareem, it's not permissible and the rewards will not reach to the dead. And I stop over here, and I don't want to get into the topic of this is the people of the haqq and this is the people of the batil. Who am I to stand in front of Abu Hanifa and Imam Malik and Imam al-Shafi'i and Imam al-Suyuti and Imam bin Taymiyyah and Imam bin Hajar and the rest of those to say, wallahi, you're all wrong for me to stand up for my opinion? And who the others come out to stand against those or those to stand against them? These are the opinions of the scholars. This is what they had to say about this topic. It's a topic of fiqh, and we have to respect the other opinion. And if you feel comfortable with an opinion, at the end of the day, this is what the scholars had to say. And this is majority of the fiqh. There's nothing like clear cut, this is how it is. This is haram. Because some people want to come and say, okay, I wanted to say, this is haram. Okay, so for example, is smoking haram? Okay, so you tell them, yes, it's haram. Why? Because Allah says in the verse, such. No. Where does it say that smoking is haram? If you tell them, wallahi, the hadith says smoking is haram, then they're going to say, no, I want to see a hadith that the Prophet ﷺ said that Marlboro is haram. Dunhill is haram. And if you finish from Dunhill, they're going to say, no, I want to see a hadith that the Prophet ﷺ said that Marlboro that's manufactured in Australia, it's haram. There's not, in the Quran and Sunnah, you're not going to find, those matters that way. Okay, the Quran and Sunnah are general rules. We go with that. The scholars, when they debated this issue, it's all about what do they understand from the Quran and Sunnah. Can the dead benefit from the good actions of the life? And this is where they revolve this whole argument over. And each one of them has a dalil. Each one of them has a dalil, and you've heard some of those dalils, and if you want to get into more depth, you go into more depth, and believe me, where you start from is where you're going to end up in. Each one of them will have their dalil to back up their argument. Yes, the dead will benefit from the action of the life. No, the dead will not benefit from the action of the life. This is the dalil from the Quran, this is the dalil from the Sunnah, this is the dalil from the Quran, this is the dalil from the Sunnah. At the end of the day, وَكُلٌّ مِّن رَسُولِ اللَّهِ مُلْتَمِسُ. Each one of them goes back to the Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Each one of them goes back to the fiqh. Each of these fuqaha and madhahib go back to the Prophet alayhi sallam, go back to the Sahaba radiallahu ta'ala anhum. And each one of them is following the Quran, and each one of them is following the Sunnah, and each one of them is trying to please Allah Azza wa Jal. And we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make us from those who listen and hear and act upon what they listen and hear, and ask Allah Azza wa Jal to accept from us what we say and what we do. And ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to accept our sacrifice for His sake. Ikhwan, inshallah, one quick reminder that on Monday we have the Islamic panel. That's every single one of you is invited, an Islamic panel based on discussion of Ramadan. So what are the do's and don'ts and the questions of Ramadan? And you've got a question in your face and I'm getting worried. Yeah. Alaikum assalam.
If someone is of the opinion that reciting that, the actual ones do go to the dead. So if someone is of that opinion, does the reciter get any reward?
Of course. Okay, this is a good question. I'm reading the Quran Kareem, and I want the rewards of what I've recited of the Quran Kareem to go to the dead. Alright? Do I get any rewards? Of course I get rewards. But I'll get some rewards, but the majority of my rewards I want it to go to the dead. Alright? At the end of the day, we don't know exactly, okay, you're going to get 100 and he's going to get 200. Okay, of course you're going to get rewards, but it's about, okay, does the reward go to the dead or not? As I mentioned, this whole argument, the reality is, this whole argument over the Quran Kareem, reciting the Quran Kareem over the dead, it doesn't begin from there. It begins, does the dead benefit from the actions of the life? That's where it begins. Okay, and if you could solve that, then that's where you come to the end of those. Okay, this is a good question. Do I have to do it at the graveyard? See, this is where it becomes a problem. If I start believing that it's only in the graveyard, then it's a problem. Now, wherever I am, because the rewards are going to be given, it's going to be recorded on you wherever you are. No. No, just the rewards, okay? Because, Surah Al-Mulk, the Prophet ﷺ said it protects the reciter. The reciter, qari'uha, it protects the reciter from the punishment of the grave. So if I'm going to read Surah Al-Mulk on the behalf of protecting my grandfather, well, that's contrary to the hadith. But I could read Surah Al-Mulk with the intention of the rewards, okay? Whatever I've obtained from Surah Al-Mulk to go to the dead. If it goes, alhamdulillah. If it didn't go, it's going to come back to you. Okay, see, this is not the problem. And if you don't believe, also, fair enough. But where the problem is, you're a mubtada', you're a dal, you don't follow the Quran and Sunnah, you this, you that, and 1,000, we just quoted the greatest of scholars of Islam. If they are wrong, and then who's right, And this is not blind following, this is the deen. And as I mentioned, sometimes we expect things to be clear-cut. Sometimes things are not clear-cut. Like as I mentioned to you, the issue of alcohol. Okay, where's the issue of alcohol that's, it's najis? Some scholars, everyone interprets it from their understanding. This is what we call dhanni and qat'i. Yeah, just a brother. What? Okay, is reading the Quran al-Kareem considered to be sunnah or mubah? It's not sunnah, it's jaiz, which is mubah. And it's permissible. Because to call it sunnah, you need to get a clear hadith that says the Prophet ﷺ allowed it. Now, where is it sunnah? Okay, sunnah, like the scholars agree that, it is sunnah to do sadaqah jariyah because there's a clear hadith about it. It is sunnah to do that. Hala, maybe some scholars, maybe they do the qiyas of sadaqah jariyah. Okay, sadaqah jariyah, performing hajj, because there's also a hadith fasting on the dead. Although a lot of scholars say that you shouldn't fast on the dead, but there is a hadith that says, a man came to the Prophet ﷺ and said, my father passed away and had fasting, so I fast on his behalf. And the Prophet ﷺ said, fast on his behalf. So the scholar said, since fasting is permissible, since hajj is permissible, since reading the Quran, doing sadaqah jari is permissible, what's all this called? Ibadat. That means anything that falls under the name of ibadat is permissible. Fair argument. Alright? But other scholars say, no, if the Prophet ﷺ did not specifically say about the Quran, you could read the Quran al-Kareem on the dead, you can. Well, there's a hadith, but not this hadith is da'if, not this hadith to me is a hasan. And it goes on. And that's why I made it very clear. I don't want to come out of you saying, no, you have to believe this or believe that. I want you to understand that this is a controversial topic. I respect your opinions. There's a brother there? No. Okay, the brother had a question. Fella. No, alcohol, khamr, alcohol. That's one. Yeah, rich son. Yeah, not najas. Rich means. No, see, this is the argument. Is it or not? Anyway. Yeah, I know, but still other scholars don't say it's not najas. Rich means it's haram. Munkar. Rich means munkar, but it's not najas. Reading the Quran, for reading the Quran, I just mentioned that, okay, there's no rewards from that. You got your rewards. It's permissible, but you don't get rewards. Alright? It's permissible, but you don't get rewards. It doesn't matter. Read the Quran al-Kareem from your memory, from the Quran, however you read it. But it's not like I have to go to the graveyard and read the Quran al-Kareem. And it's not like I have to put my hands up and read the Quran al-Kareem. I could read the Quran al-Kareem, read Surah Al-Fatiha, my hands down. See, this is the things where it becomes a problem. People mix up with it. Read the Quran al-Kareem, you have to put your hands up. Well, there's nothing says that when I read the Quran al-Kareem, I have to put my hands up. I could read the Quran al-Kareem with my hands down. See, these customs that made a group of people rebel. This is too much. And it's true sometimes in some areas, some people and reading Yasin, I don't have to bring, on the third day I have to bring the whole, town and sit down and all read Yasin. I don't have to do that, I could read it by myself. And I could read anything from the Quran. It doesn't have to be particularly Yasin. No. No.
There was hundreds. So shouldn't it be, I just don't understand why it isn't, it was hundreds of deaths, so this must have happened once every week or month, that, you pray on the dead and stuff. So, isn't there...
No, there's nothing that says that the Prophet ﷺ, ever read the Fatiha and that. And that's what I'm trying to say. To read the Quran, it doesn't have to be the Fatiha. It could be anything. It doesn't have to be at the grave. And it doesn't have to be when you put the... see, these are the problem, How we restrict it, it's got to be, after, when you put the dead in the grave, you have to read Surah Al-Fatiha. And if you don't, well, there's not... Okay, now I'm going to argue with you and say, look, there's nothing that the Prophet ﷺ did that. Okay? Yes, reading the Quran al-Kareem in general, yes. I could read it then, before then, after then. But for you to come and restrict me to do it at that time and do it then, and it just becomes like it's part of it, well, that's a problem now. We are just creating things that... this is where it becomes a problem. And if you don't read the Quran al-Kareem, after you put the dead, it's like you've done a bid'ah. Come on, let's be flexible here. Yeah.
That's what I'm scared of. I don't want to, sometimes I say, should I read it, shouldn't I? Because I don't want to fall into the status of bid'ah. I'm doing something.
Like for example, the issue after the salah, someone gives salam to someone, tells him, taqabbal Allah. Is that from the sunnah? Absolutely not. But can I go up to my Muslim brother and tell him, Ya akhi, may Allah accept from you? I could go up to him, may Allah accept from you before the salah and after the salah. And every single time I see him. But the moment I start taking that as part of the salah, then that's when it becomes a big problem. Okay, yeah, say to your brother, may Allah accept from you, Allah yatabbal minnak. Before the salah and after the salah. But to take it as part of the salah, if you know what? Is my salah going to be accepted? Why? Because I forgot to tell the person next to me, taqabbal Allah. Well, that's when it becomes a big problem, People grabbing onto those things. Okay, make dua for your Muslim brothers always, But don't take it as part of it,
So, okay, so when you say, just say something's bid'ah, and I just want to just say, does that fall on, how this Sheikh Shady that say this and that say this? So, if I've done something, and at the end of the day, it's bid'ah, like just say we find out on Judgment Day, what you were doing was bid'ah, but I took it from the scholars. Is it on their net or is it on my net? I just want to know because... That's what I want to know because there's...
Wallah, we need to talk a lot, Fadi. No, akhi, look, these, brother, you talking about, these are not, do you see this as a big issue? It's not even if it was a wrong thing, let's say it was, is it that big, massive thing, Yeah, but bid'ah, you're talking about, you're talking Quran here, Quran is a bid'ah. No, I see bid'ah when you start something fully outside, Anyway, khair inshallah. I've got.
Can you change your intention on previous action?
Okay, I've done an action.
Yeah. So, I've done something or I've given something. Can I change my intention on what?
Okay. You're talking to me like a brother who donated money, then came to me after 1 week and said, look, the donation I gave you last week, I want you to consider it as a debt. Is what you're trying to tell me? Yeah, I had someone like that.
Probably at the time I wasn't thinking that, or rather at the time I didn't make it clear that this is for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
Look, essentially, whatever you intended at that time is what you intended at that time. You don't come back later and say, look, I've changed my intention for that. Alright? That's essentially. But it depends at the end of the day, Arafat. But essentially that's how it is. If I intended for this, then 1 week later I thought, you know what, I made the wrong intention, then I have to renew the whole action. Okay? Yalla khair inshallah. Subhanakallah bihamdik. Nashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka.
To listen to or download more Islamic lectures, please visit www.islamicmedia.com.au.